All right, welcome back. This is our section where I give you my 5 streaming recommendations. Last summer, when we were brainstorming Into the Abyss, I went on a literal orgy of horror streaming. Where I mean, I'm a teacher. I'm off over the summer. After my chores are done for the day, what else am I going to do? Especially if it's 2 hours.
I don't know if that now applies unless you were watching two movies at once.
That's true. You're right. You're right. So I just went on the ultimate binge and watched movie after movie.
There we go.
There you go. Yep.
So this is the result of this. Now, as we've said many times before, I sort of rank my movies from 5 to 1. It's really arbitrary. Some movies are really, really well done from a craft perspective, but maybe I didn't enjoy it quite as much. Maybe the movie was really schlocky, but it was really fun to watch. And sometimes my rankings are the 5 is really far away from the 1. Sometimes they're really all equal, so they're really, really good. So it's really, your mileage may vary. These are my 5 recommendations for this edition of Into the Abyss. Number 5 is The Dark Tapes, directed by Michael McQuinn and Vincent J. Gustani. The Dark Tapes is an anthology of found footage, which has been kind of my interest lately. I've really kind of been interested in found footage movies. The premise is not bad. The wraparound narrative suggests there are entities that are trying to get into our world. So there's a little cosmic horror there. These entities are often caught in random bits of video. So the idea is in every single one of these, there's 4 movies in this. So the idea is every one of these movies is capturing a moment when these entities are trying to get into our world. Like one of them is an alien abduction where a girl is convinced she's being abducted by aliens, so she's trying to capture that on tape. Another one is called Cam Girls, where these 2 girls are doing the whole sex cam thing. But really, they're evil, like succubi / Wendigo things that are trying to sucker guys into their web, and then they end up killing them. You know, another one's called To Catch a Demon, where this professor is trying to capture a demon from a different dimension. It's not bad. The idea is a good one. Some of them are pretty good, like To Catch a Demon and Amanda's Revenge. That's the one where this girl is basically filming these aliens who are coming and abducting her in her sleep, and she finds a way to trap them. They're pretty decent. Cam Girls, it's kind of dumb. And they're not really tied together very well. Not a bad film. It's free currently on Vudu, and I believe Tubi. It's an okay film. Number 4 is Murder Party. Now, in this segment of my 5 streaming, my 4 through 1 are pretty close. Murder Party is a delightful movie. Delightfully low budget and just wonderful. It's directed by Jeremy Salvner. And Murder Party is a Halloween movie. I know we're not in Halloween, but for us horror fans, Halloween is 365. It's about this guy who's really lonely. He's kind of your stereotypical nerd. He's walking home on Halloween.
He's Kevin Lucia, basically.
Yeah. And he comes across an invitation inviting someone to a murder party, which he assumes is a Halloween party. He's the type of guy who he goes home, when he finds out the local punks have destroyed his pumpkin, he immediately scoops his pumpkin up and goes inside and makes pumpkin raisin bread. And he decides, I'm going to go to this Halloween party. So he makes himself probably the worst cosplay outfit ever. He makes himself a knight costume, and the armor is made of cardboard, and he makes a cardboard helmet and breastplate and everything. And he goes to the murder party, and everyone's all dressed up. And what it turns out is initially it looks like a bunch of psychos who are just trying to find some unlucky guy to kill him at this murder party. And it kills me, the one lady, the one girl who's dressed up as a total ripoff of the character from, I think it's Daryl Hannah in Blade Runner, with like the paint across her eyes.
Yes.
She's totally dressed up like that. So it looks like a bunch of psychos who are wanted to trap, but no, they're not psychos, but they're close. They're graduate art students, and they want to film they're all competing for an art grant for the most artistic killing ever that they're somehow going to film or make into multimedia. But of course, it turns out the guy who's giving the grant doesn't really have any money. He just wanted to try to trick people, apparently desperate art students, into killing somebody. And it's one of those movies that is ridiculous. Pretty funny. One of the guys has a chainsaw, but it's a plug into the wall chainsaw. So when he's chasing the guy trying to kill him, the plug comes out of the wall, and now he's screwed. So it's Murder Party is really a delightful movie where you're thinking at the outset, this is going to be cheap garbage. But then you realize, no, this is supposed to be, and maybe it may not be on the level of Tucker and Dale versus Evil, but you're like, this is actually supposed to be really thoughtful. And it really is really, really delightful and really entertaining. Okay, number 3, and again, my 4 through 1 this time, there's not a lot separating them. Number 3 is also another Halloween movie called Boys in the Trees, directed by Nicholas Versu. Okay, Boys in the Trees is a gorgeous movie. Halloween. It's also a period piece, late 90s. So your soundtrack is full of Alice in Chains, Marilyn Manson. It's just a great movie. It's taking place in Australia on a Halloween night. And it's about these two friends who were friends as kids. But this traumatic, well, I'm not going to tell you what it is. This traumatic incident separated them. The one boy, Corey, becomes part of the popular crowd. You know, the bullies, the in kids. The one kid, Jonah, becomes part of the, well, this is the, we beat on them, we pick on them and everything like that. And on Halloween night, they are kind of forced together and they have to walk home Halloween. And it's a wonderful coming of age story. I don't want to reveal anything, although I will say this. Jonah so basically, Corey is a photographer and they're all at this skate park, and Jonah is skating and he gets knocked off his skate by one of Corey's friends, and it's like a really like humiliating incident. And Corey decides, oh, this would make a great picture. And he takes a picture of his friend being humiliated. And of course, bullies are bullies, so they make copies of this picture and spread it across the neighborhood. Well, later on that night, when Corey and Jonah are kind of forced together by circumstance, Jonah's like, you owe me, so you're going to walk me home. And he reminds Corey of this epic fantasy game they used to play, where they would journey through this dangerous world called Kakaida. So the whole journey home on Halloween night becomes this epic story reminiscing on their days as kids, talking about adolescent fears. A lot of Ray Bradbury's stories have never made successful film adaptations because, unfortunately, movie versions of Bradbury's work try to imitate his prose, and it comes off awful. This was not written by Bradbury, but it could have been. And it is an absolutely gorgeous film. And I'm not going to say anything more about it, but the prose, like the kids' narration, I mean, there's two sides to this. A realist will say, okay, what teenager talks like that? Not many. But if you really love that language that seems like it just sings, this is a beautiful movie. It's currently you can rent it for $4.99 on YouTube. The Boys in the Trees. The number 2 is The Endless, directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. And I think, Chuck, you I recommended this to me, so feel free to chime in when I'm done. The Endless is, and now they've done another movie, which I'm going to talk about at another time. It's a companion to this movie. The Endless is a story about these two boys that were part of like this doomsday cult out in the desert. They ended up escaping, and now they're living normal lives, but they're kind of struggling. Right, they're happy to not be part of the cult anymore, but they're struggling fitting into real life. And they receive this cryptic tape from their cult members, their former cult family, and they decide they should go back out and investigate. And The Endless is such a wonderful, perfect example of cosmic horror that has nothing to do with Lovecraft. There's no Lovecraftian monsters here. They go back out to this commune, find, very strangely, none of these people have aged. Why are they all the same age? And the one brother is slowly getting sucked in because the other brother is kind of like a little domineering. So you can see the younger brother is feeling himself being sucked back into the cult.
And the one brother never really, emotionally never left either.
Right, yes. That's the younger one. He really never left. And part of the reason why he really never left is the older domineering brother never really let him be himself. Like there's a real key moment at the end where they're trying to escape whatever's going to happen, where the older brother finally says, fine, I will let you make whatever decision you want to. And that's like a turnkey moment. But there's just a wonderful atmosphere of this big cosmic thing that's bigger than us. And it's like, it's there. There's lots of issues with time, like time loops and being trapped in a time loop. And it's just, I really can't say much more about this movie, but The Endless is on Netflix. Chuck, do you have anything you want to add about this movie? Because I know you were the one that recommended this movie to me.
Yeah, no, I definitely will. I think that it's a perfect description. It's a great example of cosmic horror without Lovecraft. I mean, Lovecraft kind of established the genre, and everyone kind of follows in his footsteps. But cosmic horror, no pun intended, is something bigger than just than Lovecraft.
Yep.
That's the idea with cosmic horror. Is there's this big something that's out there, and that we're very small fish in the sea. I do highly recommend it. I do have some issues, and the issues that come from this have to do with time loops itself, time travel. I do recommend it. Again, I recommend the film. But there's a reason that when I was in my author critique group, and someone brought in a time travel story, and there's people who go, "Oh no, a time travel story." There's a certain legwork that has to be done both as a writer and as a reader for a time travel story. Anytime you have time jumps, there's a lot of complexity that goes in, and there's certain genres where you can kind of turn off your brain and just enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
But because you're trying to track what's going on there, time travel stories are one of those ones you can't just sit and enjoy it. You have to dive into it. My issue with The Endless, I have to watch. I might be overthinking it. I think there's a couple of questions I have that I don't think get well answered from it.
Right.
And so there are some logical aspects of it that you can say, well, if you just shut off your brain and just enjoy it, they're not there at all. Unfortunately, time travel stories are ones that you kind of have to think through because you have to do your work as a viewer to enjoy it.
Time travel stories are like that. I find for me, if you think too hard about that, you're going to ruin it. Like
right. You have to. Yeah, and you can't overthink it.
Yep.
And it might be something where, again, it's a movie that begs for repeat viewing. I've only seen it once. If I watch it a second time, I might say, oh no, they answered those questions. It was this little detail here, little detail here. There's a lot going on. You don't see it forward, but there's a lot of subtle things going on there that you have to track, and that's what makes it a great movie with a repeat viewing.
Yeah, and
but yeah, I highly recommend it. If you like science fiction, if you like horror, if you like thrillers, it's a fantastic movie. If you like, if you want to support low budget horror or low budget sci-fi, this is frequently on the list. And this is where I'd say multiple lists of great low budget sci-fi and low budget horror movies. And it's a delight, and it's something that you can watch both as a horror fan, or if you have friends that and family that don't like horror, they'll appreciate it as well.
And I'm not going to talk about it tonight, but what's intriguing about The Endless is it has a companion film called Resolution. And Chuck, I don't know if you've seen that movie.
I've not seen it, but I'm familiar with it.
It's really, really good. They basically fit together like a jigsaw puzzle. And the question is, when you watch two movies, which one is supposed to happen first? Anyway, moving on to number one. Number one is The Endless is on Netflix, by the way. Number one is The Ritual, directed by David Birchner. It's based on the novel by Adam Neville. The Ritual is, again, it's a gorgeous movie. It's a story about these guys in England who they all get together because they were all kind of out drinking one night, and they were all talking about, well, they go on a vacation every year. And their one friend says, I would really like to go on this hiking, camping vacation out in the countryside in this place. And like, okay, whatever. Well, that night, the main character and that friend who suggested this go to a liquor store. It gets robbed, and his friend gets brutally murdered, and he freezes. And he's not able to help him. Now, of course, he's going to carry this guilt with him. As a year later, they all decide to go on this hiking trip out in the woods like their friend wanted to. Now, this is a really good example of what we were talking about earlier with postmodern and story, intertextuality and stories we've heard before. Guys go out camping in the woods. They take a shortcut off the path through an unknown part of the woods, and dark, spooky shenanigans happen.
Or you're going to have some deliverance stuff happening. Either way, that's scary.
So no. Actually, I'm not going to say that deliverance stuff happens. But, so, yes, that's a plot we've heard before. But this is so
much squealing and pigs going on there.
This is so well done. And it's got Blair Witch level creepiness in a traditional movie as these guys, as they descend deeper into the woods, and they find this one cabin where they decide to spend the night, but this cabin has got this weird totem there, and they wake up the next morning all having these fragmented memories of what's happening to them. And as they're traveling through the woods, you get the idea that something is picking off the weaker ones and choosing who is worthy. The Ritual is just a great, great movie. I've long wanted to read one of Adam Neville's books. You know, the curse of books and being a book lover. Too many books, too few hours. I've always wanted to read an Adam Neville book, and now after watching, I know he's got a new novel out called The Reddening, that now after watching this movie, I really want to go check out his work.
This one has been on my list. This is actually one I would have recommended for our Saturday Night Movie Club viewing. So now that you've seen it, I think I was going to go ahead and watch it. I've seen the trailer. If people haven't seen it, watch the trailer. It's a great trailer. It has Wendigo vibes.
Yep.
That's my jam. I mean, that's just, I'm all for it.
Yeah, you'd really like this. Yeah. So here's my recommendations. The Dark Tapes, which is currently on Vudu and Tubi. Murder Party, which is currently on Netflix. Boys in the Trees, which you can rent on YouTube for $4.99. The Endless, which is currently on Netflix. And The Ritual, which is also currently on Netflix. So happy quarantine viewing.